The alien woman expected pain, fear, and death. She did not expect kindness. And she definitely did not expect the human kneeling beside her to change everything she believed about humanity in less than 1 minute. Ash drifted through the ruined valley like black snow as Elias Ward pressed his hand against the wound, ignoring the heat burning through his glove. Plasma fire had torn open the alien's side, and the smell of scorched flesh still hung in the air. Somewhere far away, weapons were still firing, but Elias focused on only one thing: keeping her alive. He was not a soldier. He was not armed. He was only a human emergency responder, deployed to the outer colony of Harrow's Reach after negotiations with alien factions collapsed into chaos. The alien woman lay half-buried beneath broken stone, her tall frame trembling as her blood shimmered a deep blue against the dust. Her species, the Kailiri, were known across nearby systems as cold, calculating, and untouchable. They rarely showed weakness. They never accepted help from humans. Yet here she was, dying. "Don't move," Elias said calmly, even though his heart was racing. His voice stayed steady the way it always did in disasters. "I'm going to stop the bleeding." Her golden eyes locked onto him instantly. "You should run," she said. Her accent was sharp, her voice strained but controlled. "They will kill you for this." Elias opened his medical pack anyway. "They'll have to wait." He sprayed a sealant foam across the wound. The alien hissed softly, muscles tightening, but she did not scream. That alone told Elias she was trained, maybe military, maybe something worse. "Why?" she demanded. "Why help me?" "Because you're hurt," Elias replied without hesitation. "That's enough." Her eyes narrowed. Not in anger, in confusion. Humans were not supposed to say things like that. Elias worked quickly. The plasma burn had cut dangerously close to vital organs. His scanner flashed warnings in red: foreign biology, unstable energy patterns, limited compatibility. Any mistake could kill her. Still, his hands never shook. The alien watched everything. His tools. His breathing. His complete lack of fear. "You know I am not your ally," she said. Elias nodded. "You don't have to be." That answer unsettled her more than the pain. A distant explosion shook the ground. Elias glanced up. The fighting was moving closer. He injected a stabilizer designed for unknown species. Experimental, risky, but better than nothing. Almost immediately, the alien gasped. Her body reacted. The wound began to close. Not slowly. Not naturally. It healed too fast. Elias froze. The tissue reformed in sharp, crystalline patterns beneath his hands, glowing faintly as if light itself was stitching her together. His scanner screamed warnings: energy spikes, unknown reactions, impossible regeneration rates. "This shouldn't be happening," he whispered. The alien stared at her own side, then at him. Fear flickered across her face. What did you do?" she asked. "I treated you," Elias said slowly. "But your body, it's responding in a way I've never seen." She pushed herself upright despite his protest. The wound was almost gone, and the glow was spreading. "That medicine," she said quietly. "It awakened something." Elias stepped back. "Awakened what?" She looked at him then, really looked, and something changed in her expression. Not hatred. Not superiority. Alarm. "You humans," she said. "You never ask what something is before fixing it, do you?" Before he could answer, the sound of armored boots echoed through the ruins. They were surrounded. Kailiri soldiers emerged from the smoke, weapons raised. Their armor bore the sigil of the High Conclave, the ruling authority that had ordered all humans removed from Kailiri space. The alien woman stiffened. "You must leave," she told Elias urgently. "Now." Elias didn't move. "She's under my care," he said, standing between her and the rifles. "If you want her, you go through me." The soldiers hesitated. Humans were small, fragile, easy to kill. So why did this one not move? "Human," one of them said, voice cold. "Step aside." Elias lifted his empty hands. She's wounded. Shooting her will destabilize whatever condition she's in. That was a lie. But it sounded confident. The alien woman's eyes widened. He was bluffing for her. No human was supposed to do that. Suddenly, the glow around her intensified. Symbols burned faintly along her skin, ancient Kailiri markings that hadn't been seen in generations. The soldiers recoiled. She's becoming ascended, one whispered in terror. The alien woman looked at Elias, realization crashing into her like a tidal wave. You healed me, she said slowly. But humans were never meant to trigger this. Elias swallowed. I'm sorry. Her gaze hardened, not with anger, but with something far more dangerous. Understanding. You are not ordinary, she said. And neither is your species. The ground trembled. Energy surged outward from her body, throwing the soldiers back like toys. Elias shielded his face as light filled the ruins. When it faded, the soldiers were gone. Only silence remained. The alien woman stood fully healed, glowing faintly, power rolling off her in waves. She turned to Elias. Do you know what you've done? She asked. Elias exhaled shakily. Saved a life. Her lips trembled, something close to awe, something close to fear. No, she said. You reminded the galaxy why humans are dangerous. And for the first time since the war began, Elias realized something terrifying. Helping her might have started something far bigger than either of them. The silence after the explosion felt heavier than the battle itself. Dust drifted slowly through the ruined valley as Elias lowered his arms. His ears rang, his heart pounded, and his legs felt weak, but he was alive. More than that, he was standing in the middle of something he did not understand. The alien woman stood where the soldiers had been moments before. Fully upright. Fully healed. And glowing. The light around her body was no longer wild. It moved with purpose, flowing like a living thing beneath her crystalline skin. Ancient symbols pulsed faintly across her arms and neck, fading in and out like breathing stars. Elias stared. I didn't know, he said quietly. I swear, I was just trying to save you. She turned toward him slowly. Her golden eyes no longer held pain, only intensity. That is exactly why this happened, she replied. The ruins around them were scorched and broken, but nothing dared move closer. Even the wind seemed afraid. Elias swallowed and forced himself to breathe normally. What are you? He asked. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she reached up and touched one of the glowing symbols on her arm. It dimmed under her fingers. My name is Ceres Valin, she said. And I was never meant to awaken like this. Elias frowned. Awaken. Ceres looked out across the valley. Far in the distance, smoke rose from burning structures. The war was still happening. Humans and aliens were killing each other over territory, fear, and misunderstanding. You healed more than my body, she said. You activated a dormant state within my species, one that only appears under very specific conditions. What kind of conditions? She looked back at him. Compassion, she said. Given freely. Without calculation. Elias let out a dry laugh. You're telling me my first aid triggered, whatever this is? Yes. That doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense, Ceres replied calmly. To humans. She stepped closer. Elias felt a strange pressure in the air, like standing near a powerful machine. Not hostile, restrained. Our civilization evolved around control, Ceres explained. We measure risk. We assign value. We do not help without purpose. Not even each other. She paused. Your species does the opposite. Elias shifted uncomfortably. We're not saints. I know, Ceres said. That's what makes it worse. Before Elias could ask what she meant, his communicator crackled to life. Elias Ward, respond immediately. It was command. He pressed the device. This is Ward. I'm alive. Static. Then relief. Thank God. We lost your signal after the blast. Are you injured? Elias glanced at Ceres. No. I'm not alone. There was a pause. Repeat that. Before Elias could answer, Ceres raised her hand. The communicator went silent. You just blocked military frequencies, Elias said, stunned. Yes. That's not good. Ceres met his eyes. If they arrive, they will try to kill me. Or dissect me. Or both. Elias ran a hand through his hair. Humans don't. Some do, she interrupted gently. You know this. He did. A distant roar echoed through the sky. Drop ships. Ceres stiffened. They've detected the energy surge. Yours? Elias asked. And yours, she said. My what? She stepped closer again, studying him with unsettling focus. When you treated me, Ceres said, your body released stress hormones, empathy responses, and cognitive prioritization patterns far beyond baseline. Elias blinked. I was under pressure. No, she corrected. You were choosing. She lowered her voice. Most species freeze. Or flee. Or calculate odds. You acted. Elias felt a chill run through him. You're saying humans do something different. Yes, Ceres said. You rewrite outcomes. The ground shook as the dropships descended. Human insignia flashed through the smoke. Elias cursed under his breath. That's our people. They will not understand, Ceres said. I'll make them, Elias replied, surprising even himself. He stepped forward, raising his hands as the first soldiers emerged. Weapons snapped into position. Hold fire. Elias shouted. She's not hostile. The commander's voice rang through the valley. Ward, step away from the alien. That is an ascended Kyliri. She is a Class Omega threat. Elias looked back at Ceres. Class Omega. She smiled faintly. That's new. Elias stepped directly in front of her. She was wounded, he said firmly. I treated her. That's it. Your treatment triggered a strategic level event, the commander replied coldly. Step aside. Elias didn't move. Something shifted among the soldiers. Confusion. Doubt. Humans weren't used to seeing one of their own stand unarmed in front of an alien superweapon. She saved my life, Elias lied without thinking. Ceres' eyes widened slightly. She did, he repeated. Now let her leave. Silence stretched. Then Ceres felt it, a ripple across the battlefield. Human hesitation. Not fear. Choice. Her breath caught. So this is it, she whispered. This is the thing we never accounted for. Elias glanced back. What thing? She smiled, and this time, it was full of awe. Human restraint, she said. Human mercy. The commander lowered his weapon slightly, and across the galaxy, unseen sensors began recording something unprecedented. A war zone where humans paused. Not because they were weak, but because they could choose not to kill. Ceres closed her eyes, feeling the energy stabilize within her. You healed me, she said softly. But what you just did may heal something far bigger. Elias swallowed. He had only wanted to save one life. Instead, humanity had just been noticed. The pause did not last long. Across the valley, human soldiers stood frozen in uncertainty, fingers resting on triggers but not pulling them. Their training told them one thing. Their instincts told them another. In front of them stood an alien glowing with power, and one unarmed human refusing to move aside. Elias felt the weight of every eye on him. Ward, the commander said again, slower this time. You don't understand what you're standing in front of. Elias kept his hands raised. His heart was pounding, but his voice stayed calm. Then explain it to me. The commander hesitated. Ceres stepped forward slightly, and the ground responded. Fine cracks spread outward from her feet, glowing faintly before fading again. She stopped herself, breathing carefully, controlling the energy inside her. "I will not harm them," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the ruins. "Not unless I am forced." That made the soldiers uneasy. Aliens did not usually give warnings. Elias glanced back at her. "You're doing great," he whispered. She looked at him with a strange expression. "You speak to danger like it's a patient." Elias shrugged. "Old habit." Above them, the dropships hovered, sensors scanning, feeding data back to command centers light years away. Signals bounced between satellites. Reports were being written in real time. Human medic activates unknown Kyleri ascension state. Human forces hesitate under direct threat. Subject displays restraint. Those words would travel far. Too far. Ceres suddenly stiffened. Her head tilted slightly, as if listening to something no one else could hear. "They know," she said. "Who knows?" Elias asked. "The Conclave," she replied. "My people's highest authority." Elias frowned. "They already wanted you dead." "Yes," Ceres said quietly. "But now they want something worse." The air grew heavier. Far above the planet, unseen to the human eye, a Kyleri observation vessel slipped out of fold space. Its arrival went unnoticed by human sensors, but not by Ceres. "They are watching," she said. The human commander barked orders into his communicator, pulling Elias' attention back. "All units, fall back 10 meters. Do not engage unless fired upon." Elias let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Ceres watched the soldiers move back, their weapons lowering just enough to matter. "In my culture," she said softly, "this would never happen." Elias looked at her. "What would?" "Mercy," she replied. "Especially toward the unknown." She turned toward him fully now. "Do you understand what you did when you stood in front of me?" Elias shook his head. "I stood where I thought I should." "That is the problem," Ceres said. "You think morality is obvious." Before Elias could respond, pain suddenly tore through Ceres' body. She cried out, falling to one knee as the symbols across her skin flared violently. "Ceres!" Elias rushed to her side without thinking. The soldiers shouted, weapons snapping back up. "Hold!" Elias yelled. "She's in distress." Ceres clenched her jaw, struggling to control the surge of energy. "They are trying to suppress it," she gasped. "The Conclave, they fear what I represent." Elias opened his medical pack, hands moving fast. His scanner went wild, readings off every scale. "You're destabilizing," he said. "Your body can't maintain this state alone." She looked up at him sharply. "You must not touch me again." Elias paused. "Why?" "Because each time you do," she said, voice trembling, "the bond strengthens." Elias didn't fully understand what that meant, but he saw the fear in her eyes. And still, he reached out. "I won't let you die," he said simply. The moment his hand touched her shoulder, the energy surge stopped. The glow stabilized. The pain vanished. Ceres stared at him in shock. Around them, every sensor, human and alien alike, recorded the same impossible fact. Human contact stabilized ascended Kyleri physiology. High above the planet, Kyleri observers reeled. "This violates predictive models," one whispered. Another spoke in a voice tight with fear. "It confirms the anomaly." On the battlefield, Ceres slowly stood, steady now, her power controlled rather than explosive. She looked at Elias as if seeing him for the first time. "You are anchoring me," she said. "Your presence alone is enough." Elias swallowed. "I'm not doing anything special." "That is what makes it terrifying," she replied. The conclave vessel above began transmitting. Ceres' expression hardened. "They are issuing a declaration," she said. "Effective immediately." Elias felt a chill. What kind of declaration? She met his eyes. Humanity is no longer classified as a secondary species. The human commander stiffened. "Ward, what is she saying?" Elias didn't answer right away. What are we classified as now? He asked Ceres quietly. She took a breath. An uncontrollable variable, she said. One capable of changing the fate of other species without intending to. The ground trembled again, not from ships this time, but from something deeper. Across the planet, ancient Kailiri structures began to awaken, responding to Ceres' stabilized state. And all of them were pointing toward human population centers. Elias felt the weight of it crash down on him. He had saved one life. In doing so, he had revealed something the galaxy had never prepared for. A species that healed enemies. A species that acted without permission. A species whose compassion could trigger evolution. Ceres placed a hand over Elias' chest. They will come for you, she said softly. Not just soldiers. Not just fleets. For what? Elias asked. For understanding, she replied. And for control. Elias looked out at the human soldiers, the alien ruins, the sky filled with watching eyes. Then he nodded. Then we'd better make sure they don't misunderstand us. Ceres smiled, a mixture of fear and hope. Yes, she said. Because if they do. She looked up at the stars. They will be very afraid. The first shot was never fired. That fact alone would later confuse historians. Across Harrow's Reach, human and alien forces remained locked in a standoff that should not have existed. War doctrine demanded escalation. Fear demanded preemptive strikes. Yet both sides hesitated, not because they were weak, but because something had broken the pattern. Ceres stood beside Elias, her presence radiating restrained power. The glow along her skin pulsed slowly now, synchronized with Elias's breathing. Neither of them fully understood why, but every scanner did. The bond was real. Human command channels exploded with conflicting orders. Some demanded immediate withdrawal. Others wanted containment. A few, quieter voices suggested something radical. Dialogue. The Kailiri conclave vessel finally revealed itself, descending from the clouds like a blade made of light. Its hull shimmered with layered energy shields older than human civilization. It hovered above the ruins, casting a massive shadow over everyone below. Ceres stiffened. That ship carries judges, she said. They decide whether species live freely, or under control. Elias felt his stomach tighten. And what do they decide about humans? She hesitated. They have never needed to decide before. A beam of light descended from the vessel, forming a projection in the air. A tall Kailiri figure appeared, its form sharp and precise, eyes cold with calculation. Ceres Valin, the judge said. You have violated Ascension Protocol. Step forward. Ceres did not move. Elias took a step closer to her instead. She is under my protection, he said, voice steady. The judge's gaze shifted to him. A human, it said flatly. You are irrelevant. Ceres laughed softly. No, she said. He is the reason I stand. The judge's expression changed, not to anger, but to something more dangerous. Interest. Explain, it commanded. Ceres gestured to Elias. He healed me without asking who I was. Without calculating gain or threat. His action triggered a dormant evolutionary response my people believed myth. The judge processed this in silence. Human, it said to Elias. Did you intend this outcome? Elias shook his head. I intended to save a life. That answer is statistically meaningless, the judge replied. And yet, Elias said calmly, here we are. A murmur spread among both human and alien forces. The judge analyzed Elias again. Your species repeatedly acts against rational self-interest. We call it empathy, Elias said. Ceres watched the exchange closely. She could feel the tension tightening across Kailiri neural networks. The conclave had built its empire on predictability. Humans shattered that by accident. Empathy destabilizes systems, the judge said. Only unjust ones, Elias replied. The words landed harder than any weapon. For the first time in recorded Kailiri history, a judge hesitated. Your compassion awakened power you cannot control, it said. If humans can trigger ascension states unknowingly, you represent a systemic threat. Elias looked up at the massive vessel above them. So your solution is fear. Our solution is order. Ceres stepped forward. Energy rippled across the ground, but she kept it contained. Order without compassion is stagnation. The judge turned toward her. You speak with human influence. Yes, Ceres said. And it saved me. The judge raised a hand. The air vibrated. We propose containment, it announced. Humanity will be restricted from further interaction with ascension-capable species. Human commanders erupted in protest. Elias felt anger flare, but he kept his voice calm. You're afraid, he said. The judge did not deny it. You should be, Elias continued. But not of us. The judge tilted its head. Explain. Elias gestured around them. We didn't build empires by dominating the galaxy. We survived by helping each other when logic said we shouldn't. That's not a weapon. It is chaos, the judge said. No, Elias replied. It's choice. Ceres felt something shift. Across Kailiri space, ancient algorithms recalculated. Predictive models failed again and again. Humanity could not be boxed into probabilities. Judge, Ceres said quietly, if you declare humans a threat, you will force them to become one. The judge studied her. And if we do not? Elias answered this time. Then maybe, he said, we figure things out together. Silence followed. Long, heavy. Then something unprecedented happened. The judge lowered its hand. This case will be deferred, it said. Humanity will be observed. Ceres exhaled slowly. Elias felt his knees almost give out. The projection faded. The vessel began to ascend. But before it vanished, one final message transmitted across all channels, human and alien alike. Humanity designated, catalyst species. The words echoed through fleets, councils, and worlds. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The war did not end that day. But it changed. Ceres turned to Elias, her glow finally dimming to a soft shimmer. They fear you, she said. Elias shook his head. They don't understand us. She smiled. Neither do you. Elias looked at the battlefield, the soldiers, the sky. We're just getting started. Ceres placed a hand over her chest, where his treatment had first touched her. You healed me, she said. And in doing so, you revealed something ancient. What's that? Elias asked. She met his eyes. That kindness, when chosen freely, is the most disruptive force in the universe. Above them, the stars watched. And for the first time, they were unsure what humans would do next. The galaxy did not change all at once. That was the first thing historians later agreed on. There was no sudden peace. No universal celebration. No dramatic ending to war. What changed was something far more dangerous to old powers. Expectation. Across dozens of systems, alien councils replayed the recordings again and again. A human medic standing unarmed before soldiers. An ascended Kailiri stabilizing at a human's touch. A judge hesitating. No invasion plan had ever included that. On Harrow's Reach, the battlefield slowly emptied. Human troops withdrew first, weapons lowered but ready. The Kailiri forces did the same, their movements cautious, uncertain. Ceres stood beside Elias as the dust settled. You should be afraid now, she said quietly. Elias nodded. I am. She looked surprised. Then why don't you regret it? Elias considered the question. I've seen what happens when people stop helping each other, he said. It never ends well. Ceres studied him. Your species confuses logic with morality. Elias smiled faintly. We argue about that a lot. A transport arrived to evacuate wounded civilians. Humans moved first, treating everyone they found, human and alien alike. Some Kailiri watched in disbelief as human medics knelt beside enemies without hesitation. Whispers spread. They help without asking. They do not demand loyalty. They do not calculate repayment. Fear followed curiosity. Within days, Kailiri worlds experienced unrest. Younger generations questioned conclave doctrine. Why was compassion considered weakness? Why had ascension only occurred through a human? The judges convened emergency sessions. Humanity had become a problem. Not because it was powerful, but because it inspired change. Elias was summoned back to Earth shortly after. Not as a prisoner. Not as a hero. As a question. He stood before a chamber of human leaders, scientists, and military officials. Seri stood beside him, her presence carefully shielded, her energy controlled. What you represent, one official said, could put us at the center of galactic politics overnight. Elias shrugged. I didn't represent anything. I helped someone. That may be the same thing, another replied. Ceres listened quietly. Your people fear humans, a general admitted. They think we're unpredictable. Ceres nodded. You are. Elias glanced at her. That bad? For empires built on control, she said. Yes. The chamber fell silent. Then Elias spoke again. If the galaxy is afraid of us, he said, we don't prove them right by becoming conquerors. And if they attack, someone asked. Then we defend ourselves, Elias replied. But we don't stop being who we are. Ceres felt something settle inside her. This was it. This was the choice point her people had never understood. The judges had labeled humanity a catalyst species. They believed that meant chaos. They were wrong. Catalysts did not destroy reactions. They made them possible. Over the next months, small things happened. Human medics were allowed onto neutral stations. Joint rescue operations replaced skirmishes. Alien refugees began requesting human assistance specifically. Each time, humans showed up. Not because it was profitable. Not because it was safe. But because someone needed help. Ceres became an ambassador, not for Kailiri dominance, but for understanding. Wherever she went, she told the same story. A human healed me, she would say. And expected nothing. Some believed her. Some didn't. But no one ignored her. Elias returned to field work. He refused promotions. Refused command. He stayed where he belonged, on the ground, treating wounds, human and alien alike. One day, as he worked in a shattered city on a distant moon, a young alien child watched him carefully. Why do you help us? The child asked. Elias smiled gently. Because you're here. That answer spread faster than any fleet. Years later, when the conclave finally collapsed under internal reform, historians trace the beginning back to one moment. A wounded alien. A human medic. A choice made without calculation. Ceres stood beside Elias on a quiet hillside beneath unfamiliar stars. They will never stop watching you, she said. Elias looked up. That's okay. Why? Because we're not hiding, he replied. Ceres smiled, her glow soft and steady. You healed more than a body. Elias exhaled slowly. Then let's keep going. The galaxy did not fall to humanity. It adapted. Because humans did not conquer it. They showed it a different way to survive. And that frightened the universe more than any weapon ever could.